Hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How has your week been? What has everybody been up to? Time flies, doesn't it? Amazing. Hello. Hello to Ish. Hello to John. Hello to Simon. How you guys doing? How's things? Also, apologies for the hood. It's cold. So you're gonna have to stick with it, I'm afraid. John, evening nerds, damn Thursday again. Time actually flies when you're just sat in your arse ill and doing nothing for 2 weeks. Fair. Is there any recovery to your illness, like condition wise? I'm just gonna squeeze this that way slightly. There we go. Better. But yeah, how you doing? How's things? Well, I'm glad the chat is alive. Thanks for asking. Dr. Andy really messed up last week. On the mend this one, just tired and feeling of malaise. You know, the usual. Must have been that Rona coming for a visit. Fair. Well, hopefully you don't have any, on the mend nice and quickly. I've heard quite the number of quite interesting studies about COVID and its effects. So hopefully none of those stick with you. Yeah. Hello Simon, how you doing? How's things? What have you been up to? What have I been up to? Good question. I've been testing some headphones that I just realised aren't here. They're upstairs. Been playing on the Steam Deck a lot more. I finished Pokemon Sword. Yeah. Started playing No Man's Sky on the Steam Deck actually. That was quite good. Crikey, I go make tea for 5 minutes and miss all the fun. Hello. Hello Zach, man. How's things? Hello Joe, how you doing? I'm okay. I'm a little on the cold side, hence the hood. And my crossed arms and rather, kind of, what do you call it? Hunched demeanor. But yeah. I can't ask how's your week been anymore. I mean, yes, but also I'm trying the whole not having shit weeks thing. It's not really working, but I'm trying. Deep fried avocado. Hello. I'm anticipating an issue with a lack of EPS on a T2. Any adapters for PCI 8-pin? PCI to 8-pin APS, or would I have to make my own? I'm not currently understanding what you mean by T2. Can you please not alliterate? Explain. Close enough. So hypothetically it's fairly similar. I mean it's just the 12-volt rail. I'm fairly certain the pinouts are different. Oh, the EVGA T2. Right. Got ya. Yeah, I don't know of any adapters that change PCI to EPS. Is the EVGA T2 fully modular power supply? Because if it is, it's quite likely that the pinout on the Well, it depends. Some power supplies have one full set, like a section on their modular interface for EPS slash PCIe because they're both just 12 volt and ground, but some of them separate it into, you know, there's two for your EPS connections and there's two for or there's up to two or four for PCIe, but some it's just one block. If they are just one block, someone, oh, you mentioned Cable Mod, I'm sure Cable Mod would sell more EPS cables, and if they sell EPS cables and the connection block is the same, then you should be able to just use more EPS cables, basically. If they don't, if you can't find custom cables, if they specifically only have, you know, the EPS headers on for two of them, for example, then in that, what do you call it? Brain's gone blank. God, I love that. Then yeah, you will likely need to make your own cables, but I'm relatively sure that it's fine. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the oh. So yeah, it's the other way around. So with PCIe, you've got power at the bottom, ground at the top. EPS is the other way. It is also it's a different pin layout. Like you do need a EPS 12 volt pin, but yeah. But yeah, it is still just 12 volts and ground. The only catch will be you'll need to work out the pinout on the power supply because it may not necessarily be 4 12 volts and 4 grounds. It might be 3 and 5 grounds for the PCIe ones. Because with PCIe there's only 3 12 volts. The extra 2 pins that get attached to make it an 8 pin are just grounds, with one of them being a sense pin. Where am I at? Watching the installation of all the new automation at my mate's house, it's amazing to see the difference and similarities between old and new. Nice! Hello, Essentialist. Listening to Aphex Twin and paused for this. Thanks. Thoughts on the Clarkson saga? Amazon has already taken a hit with people cancelling their Prime accounts in retaliation for him being axed. I mean, well, it's literally not the first time that he's done something stupid and is now seeing the consequences. From you know, reading what he wrote, that is, it was rather insane, vitriolic horror. Also, I read that he had lunch with I think New King or Camilla or something, and then like 2 hours later published that column. But yeah. And yeah, people cancelling their Prime accounts. I mean, the less money going to Bezos, the better. So, 6.5 a dozen. Are those the questions? Is that what we got so far? Hmm. Where are the moderator options? Well, there aren't any that I can access. That's stupid. Okay, whatever, fine. I give up. Yeah, there's I guess I should probably install a Twitch bot. Can I even make people mods on the chat? No, I don't think so. I can manage you as a suspicious user, but I can't make you a mod from here, which is really frustrating. Yeah. Joe, I got my car back today. Nice. Nearly crashed it straight away. It's so much lighter and like a go-kart compared to the long and heavy Charan with boat steering. Nice. I must admit, actually, when I picked up my S4, my friend drove me down so that I could pick it up, and we got in it, and I wanted to rev it, but I forgot a few seconds earlier that I'd put it into drive. So when I revved it, it lurched forward. Luckily, I didn't rev it hard enough or for long enough that we went, too far. It just kind of lurched forward a bit, and then, I stepped on the brakes and went, "Whoo!" And I'm just really glad I didn't put it in reverse because there's a wall directly behind me. So yeah, you're not the only one to do silly things in cars you don't, you're not used to. Sparks, do you have any examples of a software design document? Honestly, no. I have made multiple software projects at this point, but they've all been what you might call solo ventures, and therefore I have not made any major design documents. I've scribbled on pieces of paper. I've even done some sort of rough designs in Photoshop, but I've never made an actual software design document. And actually, thinking about it, I'm not entirely sure that any of my friends who are professional developers have ever made one either. I feel like that might be a theoretical type of document. Now, I'm sure in certain situations it will be beneficial to have that, but yeah, I'm afraid I'm not in academia. In fact, I don't even have a degree. I got a D in computing. The combo is big. It's so much easier to drive than any car I've had before. Steering's mega light, nippy, feels surprisingly light. Like driving a new car again after 5 months of repair. Nice. Sounds very corporate. Yeah, academic or corporate. One, those two kind of sound very similar a lot of the time. Sounds good. I'm writing my first design document and it's rather difficult as I've never seen a single design document in my professional career. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the friends that are professional developers that I know, I don't think I've ever heard them talk about a software design document. So yeah, it would be new to them too. No degree either. Nice. No debt. All the degrees and stuff mean nothing anyway. I got a diploma in business, law, and accounting and hardly ever use it. Nice. Well, for some stuff, it is useful. I mean, on the computer science front, while I didn't do, I didn't do any further education past sixth form college, people who do have a, even just the honours or bachelor's degree, depending on if you're in England or Scotland, do have the leg up in terms of they've been generally taught the sort of fundamentals of things, and so generally have a little bit better of an understanding of how different stacks and architectures and stuff will work. But from a in the job perspective, realistically, as long as you're willing to learn, there's not that much of a difference in the outcomes, as it were. There are plenty of people who go to university who get a degree and then can't program to save their life, and contrary, there's also plenty of people who don't go to university and are absolute prodigies. I'm not one of those. But yeah, aren't degrees and certs more for getting a job than it's all experience? Yes. So I mean, the sort of theory, if you like, is that if you have a degree, that generally means that you have a foundational understanding of whatever it is. So in computer science, or if you're going for a developer job of some kind, having a computer science degree generally means that you have a foundational understanding of computers, of that area, and therefore any experience you have on top of that is additional rather than sort of self-certified, if you like, where there's no technical guarantee that you have the foundational understanding for stuff. Realistically, it doesn't matter that much, but yeah. Andy and good coding don't go together. Hey! I mean, you're right, but hey! I tried to get there. I've actually implemented classes and the response time tool stuff, which is better. It's all in C#, which my friend Dan doesn't like very much, but it's what I'm used to, so it works. I read your C# code, I couldn't figure out what anything did. I'm not a coder. Well, it's not exactly that difficult. I did kind of want to do a bit of an explain video on how the code works for the response time tool, but I also figure that it would make everyone... It'd be a very good way to go to sleep. C# was basically Microsoft Java. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, one of the fun things is, so there's C, or Objective-C, and then C++, which is what most people, if you're writing a low-level application, C++ is, in programming connotation, ++ means +1, so you can just write, so instead of, whatever your variable is, let's say your variable is I, you can write I++ instead of I equals I + 1, which shortens the notation down. And so C++ means C+1, as in it's the C language, but with some more stuff added on. It's better. C#, if you cut the hash symbol into 4, it's 4 pluses, which means C+2. Yeah, fun. But yeah, C# is a more abstracted language. It's it has garbage collection, and a lot of stuff is taken care for you. You really don't need to think about pointers or memory allocation or anything. It's a very hands-off language while still being strongly typed, and you can, one of the nice things about C# is that you can also use C or C++ functions from like user32 DLL. So one of the things that I do is I get what the current focus window is in Windows, to know if I should carry on the test or not, if the test program's open. And that's a function from user32 DLL. So that's quite nice. You need a beanie, Andy. I do have some beanies. In fact, I've got a SteelSeries one actually, but I kind of like hoodies, especially because with a beanie, you know, it does obviously trap the heat in your head or whatever, but there's then a gap here. Whereas if you have a hoodie up, all of the heat that's coming off of my chest still stays in here and, you know, only slowly filters out instead. It's quite nice. Hello, Luca. How you doing, man? Genuine car/tech question. What do you think of the new Ioniq 6? I'm on the fence at the minute. I actually haven't seen it yet. Is it? I assume it's the same platform as the Ioniq 5, but I don't know. I'll have a look later. C# is similar to Java. Yeah, they're also they are pretty similar in their design. Java, there are some differences, but they're relatively similar. I never knew with the C++++. The light has been shown. I know I only learned that recently, but I quite like that, yeah. Same platform, but it's a saloon now. Got you. Is it lower? Because, see, especially since buying the S4, I don't know that I would ever buy a saloon, you know, as my primary car. And yeah. Ioniq, Kia. So they're the same platform. Kia and Hyundai share the same platform. So the Kia EV6 is the same as the Ioniq 5, just with a different body. And so I assume the Ioniq 6 is also the same, you know, skateboard design platform. Java, C# were object-oriented, right? Like kind of modular instead of one huge program/app. Generally speaking, those two things aren't necessarily the same, if I'm right. So object-oriented is how you program things. So everything is an object. Everything is either a static or instantiated object. So instantiated means you write a template for something, and then you can spawn multiple copies of it. Whereas a static object is something that only exists once. And exists in a fixed state rather than multiple copies. But they are still generally somewhat monolithic in their app design. It is a single file, it's a single executable that runs. Although you do, if you're using any packages, you have to import those, or you have those libraries, DLLs, dynamic link libraries, separately. But yes, Java and C# are object-oriented, same as C and C++, and quite a lot of languages, actually. Longer, lower, similar shape to a BMW 645i, back seats are smaller, boot is smaller, range is the same, cost is more. So it's less practical for the same money. Alright, more money. Subaru Rally Nerd here, still running the old EJ25. Nice! I'm surprised your head gaskets haven't blown. Is worrying my upgrading my 12600 to a 13600. I have a Z690 M-Site Edge. So they are the 13600 assume K or non-K, will be a little bit faster. You get double the E-cores, which is nice for the what do you call it? Come on, brain. new chips faster, you get double the E-cores, which is good for productivity. On the gaming front, your CPU really doesn't matter that much for gaming performance. So realistically, upgrading isn't that big of a deal. But if you're going to, that should be fine. You will need to do a BIOS upgrade on your Z690 board before you put in the new chip, because if you don't do that, you'll have to take the new chip back out again, put the old one back in, and do the BIOS upgrade. But you can do a BIOS upgrade, like you could do a BIOS upgrade right now, and then no matter what happens, that board will now support 13th gen. Well, I suppose, when I say no matter what happens, I don't mean, you then stuff the new chip and break all the pins. I mean, like, if you end up eventually upgrading, you don't need to worry about it, you don't need to think about it. But yeah, you said I play sim games like Factorio, so in that case there is definitely argument for a faster chip. I've not benchmarked factory games to see their the performance difference. Obviously CPU will generally make more of a difference with loads of physics objects and stuff, or generally just objects. But yeah, do you know of any Factorio uses like 4% CPU on a 3rd gen i5. It's extremely easy to run. Fair. I was gonna say it plays well on the Steam Deck, actually, as my friend Dan figured out recently, and therefore has taken all of his time again. So yeah, I would be somewhat unsure of a major performance upgrade there, but if he said satisfactory, that one is more likely. Oh god, that game gets me. Brandon, EJ25 head gaskets already went. Warranty rebuilt. It's my baby, a 2020. Nice. Fair. And anyone seen Linus's rant at the Tommy Hilfiger bundle? I haven't. It's on my, I'll be watching it, in a bit. But I haven't seen it as of yet. But I have to assume that it's just an ODM, like original design manufacturer. Like, it's probably 20 quid, Amazon bundle that has some stickers on it, and that makes it a £200 keyboard or bundle or whatever it is. I have to assume that's what they're doing. Is it worth to upgrade AM5 platform now, or wait for the new XD processors? So the X3D CPUs are likely to be a significant performance advantage in gaming. So I would probably wait for those. It depends on where you're trying to get in at. If you're going for the one of the cheaper, like the 6-core, the 7600 or 7600X or whatever, then you're probably fine to buy now, and then you can always upgrade later if you want. But if you can hold out for a bit more, I don't think they're that far away. I can't remember what the date was, whatever, but I would probably say it's worth waiting. It's worse than 20 quid Amazon bundle. Oh dear, okay. Interesting. 14th of Feb, but they change it. Right, okay. Still, that's not that far away. I mean, we're on like the 19th of January, so you probably got to wait about a month, and so yeah, I would say it's probably worth waiting just to see, as long as you can wait. um, anyone using new VR like it? I was big into it in the CV1 days, but I haven't come back. Stick with Valve Index, new headsets to watch. Saw there was new Vive too. So I got an email about the new Vive. They wanted me to come to London to test it. I really don't travel for much, so I actually just didn't reply. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that it was still, something like 1440p per eye. I think that was 90 hertz with the new Vive instead of 144 with the Index. And I still don't think that anyone has actually bested these controllers. A lot of the new controllers use internal tracking, like they'll have cameras on the headset to identify the motion, rather than using, you can't quite see them, it's just out of sight, but the base stations that the original Vive and the Index do, and but I personally prefer that for tracking. But I don't know. I haven't used any of the newest sort of generation, like the new Vive or like the Quest 2, I guess, is the newest one. So I can't say for certain, but yeah, I still really like the Index controllers. I saw a news article about cheaper AR VR headset by Apple, similar price to iPhone. I'm like, sorry, cheap and iPhone don't go together. No, they don't. They really don't. Because the Index is only, I'll say only, but it's about £1,000 or so, isn't it? Or is it even less than that now? Is it like 800? I can't remember, but that's less than an iPhone, and that's an actual good headset. So yeah, the keyboard is worse than a $5 OEM keyboard. In fact, it makes the OEM keyboard look gaming class. Oof. All right, that'll be a good watch then. And yeah, the other thing about the Index controllers is that all finger touch, that it doesn't make a big deal, but the fact that you can actually let go, grab it, grab something in game, or like I play Pavlov, which is basically CS:GO but VR, and being able to, you grab the controller, but you grab the gun, you grab the second one, and you're running around. But then if you want to let go of the gun, you just let go of your whole hand. Obviously the controller's still attached, you're still aware it's there, but you do get to fully let go, and then go grab like a magazine on your hip or something, which is quite nice. And then games like Half-Life Alyx, Boneworks, and Bone Lab that I haven't got yet, those do proper like individual finger tracking, which is really cool. It's not that big a deal, but it's quite nice. It's quite good. I can't get on with VR. It makes me feel violently sick after a few minutes. Don't know if that's due to poor graphics, low refresh rates, etc. Of the ones I used way back a few years ago. So a lot of people don't get on with VR actually, which is one of the reasons why I'm entirely convinced that Facebook's whole metaverse is ridiculous, because I've had VR for like 4 or 5 years at this point, from the original Vive now to the Index, and I've had plenty of people come over and play. And games like Beat Saber, where you're static and it's just stuff coming at you, that's normally fine for most people, because you don't have that disconnect of you're moving in game more than you're moving in the real world, right? and things like the whole paintbrush type stuff, whatever. And to some degree, games where you portal around, so you point your controller where you want to go, it shoots out a little fishing rod, and then you just teleport there. A lot of those still, people can get on with that, but in a game like Pavlov, where you're walking around, you're playing a first person shooter, literally first person. A lot of people really don't get on with that. Like, really don't get on with that. And it doesn't take them much to move even slightly before they're, even actually, one of the interesting things is racing games. Because for me, well, first of all, for me, I don't care about the motion sickness. Like, I don't get that, which I'm very glad I don't. But on even in racing games, some people really don't get along with it, even though functionally it's the same thing. You just don't have the G-forces of the car moving around. But it's kind of funny. So again, my friend Dan really doesn't get along with Pavlov. Any sort of motion in game that you're not doing in real life doesn't work. But the for racing games, if he stays still in the seat, with the steering wheel, and he's just driving around, it's fine. But if he starts moving around while the car's moving, that's it, he's gone. Which is quite funny. I mean, it's not funny for him, but it's funny to watch. Question, how bad is the chromatic aberration on the index? I don't know that I've ever noticed chromatic aberration personally. I mean, I tend to not analyze, the display qualities of stuff. In fact, I tend to, I don't have active thought like a lot of people. I describe it as I have a black box that just kind of spit stuff out. If I'm talking, I'm not actually thinking about what I'm trying to say. It just, my mouse starts moving and making sounds. And when I'm thinking about something, a lot of the time it's just kind of, you're gonna, and then hope that something pops out or whatever. And so that means that I don't do a lot of constant analytics of things. But yeah, no, the lenses on the index are really nice. They're not like the original Vives ones where you can still see all the rings of the stepping and stuff. They're actually very nice. So probably, again, it's not something I pay attention to, and I also almost always adjust the headset so that it covers as much of my field of view as possible, which is most of my field of view. Anyone here tried the Nreal glasses or seen them? I've seen them a little bit, but I've not tried them. There's a few bits I would kind of like to give them a shot, but I don't have however much it was, like £300 or something. Do VR Go's have prescription lenses yet? No, or at least not any that I've seen. Some do have adjustments so that you can wear glasses in them, but realistically, if you want to use them, you either have to have good eyesight, not care enough, which is what I do, or use contact lenses. Brother gets motion sick real quick, spent many hours in hardcore elite dangerous play, loved that, but the game went in directions I wasn't keen on. Fair play. It's always frustrating when that happens. I played Resident Evil or something like that, moving around in it generally felt awful, really messed with my head. So there will be some of that will be to do with the headset, some of it to do with the game, some of it to do with, it might have been a 60 or 90 hertz display, whereas the index is 144. There are some it definitely has improved since even the original Vive type days. But yeah, if you don't get along with the disconnect of motion, you know, in your vision while no motion in your body, generally doesn't work out very well. Simon, I think my 79XDX is on the faulty list. Just checking the temps. 102 watching YouTube. Ouch. Is it one of the XFX ones? Because as far as I was aware, that was it's just XFX cards that are affected by the bad cooler design or whatever it was, or cooler mounting or something or other. Ba, 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 ba. Da, 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 da. But the metaverse will allow for advertisement billboards, playing video in 3D all over the place. Yeah, and have Facebook control literally every step of your freaking life. No thanks. This one is gigabytes. Interesting. I'd only heard that it was XFX, but fair. Yeah, 102 degrees at functionally idle. Nah, that's broken. Metaverse is great. It allows Zuck to act human without having to wear his human suit. Nice. Nice. You're not wrong. Oh, it's the reference design from a gigabyte. Got you. Fair. That makes a little more sense. Do you ever play any horror games? I love a good horror game, but it's got to be one that really gets your heart going. How surround sound is good for drowning out and shit yourself. Nice. Not really. Because I kind of only have two states when sort of consuming or interacting with media. It's either completely disconnected or 100% immersed, and I have enough anxiety as it is. I don't need random monsters going jump in the night. Or if I'm just fully disconnected, it still doesn't it doesn't work. It's not worth me doing. So horror is generally a genre I don't interact with much. What's your opinion on the 4070 Ti? We talked about this whenever it came out and whenever they unlaunched it. But while I am glad that they did change the model name and give it a slight price cut to match what it even remotely should have been, it does feel like a bit of a strange card because it's at a price point that, especially after you realize that the MSRP is a fictional number, really doesn't make that much sense. If it was about $100 less expensive, it might make some sense. And realistically, looking at the specs of it, I'm pretty sure that it should have been a 4070, not a Ti. I'm fairly certain that the spec of it means it shouldn't have been that class of card. Because there is quite a gulf in the core count, and obviously it is the next die size down with the smaller memory bus and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's very, very it was very, very disingenuous of them to launch it as a 4080 12 gig. and it's it still feels a little bit on the high side right now. £880 is too much for sure. Yes. And yes, Ish, that is the one that they tried renaming the 4080 alongside another 4080. You know, when they first did that, which I think was the 1063 gig versus the 6 gig, the 1066 gig had been out for something like a year, right? And then they launched the 1063 gig as a, oh, well, we basically have a bit of extra stock. We don't really want to sell it as a 1050 Ti or whatever. So, you know, let's ship it with a few less cores and with, you know, half the RAM, and we'll call it the 3 gig. And then that's, you know, and I still wasn't a fan of that. I still would have preferred them to, you know, change the naming scheme to fit it better. But at least it was an afterthought. Like, it was a problem with they didn't leave enough room for another card to fit in, and so they just kind of went, oh, I guess we can call it the same thing, but if we put 3 gig, then at least we know that it's a different card that's clear enough, you know, for whatever. And so, okay, they did it with, what else did they do it with? Anyway, it doesn't matter what else they did it with. Well, I mean, they did it with laptop chips, which I also hated, but the distinction for this one is that this was from the off. This was, neither card existed yet. They had full scope to do whatever they wanted, and they still called it the exact same thing. And like, we've seen how much of a big difference the cards have, and to call them both 4080, what? Best of luck with that, Joe. Chris, hello. Are you like really drunk, or my dad put my laptop charger in the basket of firelocks? Is he also really drunk? What's your favorite laptop of the last year? I didn't end up checking out that many laptops last year. In the grand scheme of things, I would say probably, I think I mostly checked out Asus laptops, so probably something for Asus. The G15, I think, Zephyrus. But you've had an entire bottle of vodka. Is that what you're saying, Chris? 4060 Ti is rumored to have 3070 Ti speed for 80% of its power. Okay. It's going to cost 3070 money, though, which is the problem. Question, if you got an original 4080 12 gig, would it be renamed 4070 Ti in a driver update? Or will they have a rare kind? Well, they unlaunched it before it was ever launched, right? So the only, you know, cards that will be called 4080 12 gig will be ones that are, you know, in the factory, or that will be, you know, in their internal test benches only. They don't, Nvidia in particular, don't ship out review sample cards until basically the last second. So I doubt that reviewers got any. I mean, if they did, then probably, I mean, any BIOS updates would probably correct that. Nvidia will probably want them back. But yeah. They unlaunched it well before the launch of even the 4080 16 gig, or whatever it is. Is it 16 gig or is it 20 gig or something? Can't remember. The proper 4080. So, yeah. But I mean, all they would have done is the BIOS upgrade on the card. The VBIOS would change its designation. Or at least what it reports as. Because if you buy one of the like scammer cards off of like wish.com or whatever, you know, which claim to be a 1060 or something, but when you boot them up, you get like 760 performance. That's because they are actually 760s or 960s or whatever, and they've just had their VBIOS modified to report that they're 1060s or whatever it is. The 3060 Ti was a $399 card at launch. You'd hope that the 4060 Ti would match it. You'd like to think so. The original Wish Scam cards had GTS 450s. Ah, yes, the GTS cards. I remember those. Car had a death wish. Last month, it was the injectors needing replacement. This month, random shutting off. Now the washer fluid is leaking and the engine light is on. Welcome to a new car! Especially older and cheaper ones. Or shitboxes, as we call them. Yeah. I'm young enough, I don't remember GTS cards. Alright, you child. Yeah, the GTS cards started at the like the 50 class. Because it was GTX 460, which is quite a popular card. And then it was GTS 450 and it was GTS down from there. What the 450 and lower wasn't quite good enough to be a GTX. One day in future we'll know exactly what is what. All the GPUs will be what they say they are and not 40, 70, 80, 60 Ti's. That'd be nice. One day. Hey, less of the old man stuff. Andy is still a spring chicken. I'm glad I'm not as old as you, old man. You're both wrong. I'm a Time Lord. I'm currently working on trying to get a few hundred Cat5e patch cables from free from work. What should I do if I get them?
Why?
Sell them? I don't know. You're a weird guy, Chris. Cat5e, not even Cat 6 or Cat 7. I know, shocking. You can only do 10 gig over that over a short distance. So it's just it's not a TARDIS. There's a re on the front of that. Hello, Riley. How you doing, man? How's things? Been a while. What have you been up to? Wasn't Cat5e limited to 1 gig? No, Cat5e can do 10 gig, just over very short distance. Might sell them, but they decided they don't want colored cables anymore after buying 3 large boxes of them. Okay. It's weird. I have 50 meter of Cat 6a at home already. Then why do you... Okay. Okay. What are you expecting for the 1700 X3D chips? I got my entire computer build ordered yesterday with my 4090 sitting under my bed. All I need is the CPU to go on sale so I can buy it. Nice. Well, if the 5800X3D is anything to go by, it's likely going to be an absolute monster of a chip for gaming. I'm really quite surprised at how much the cache performance, or the cache amount, you know, how much of a big deal that appears to be for gaming performance, which is quite interesting. It's quite a significant development, you might say. And obviously with AMD on the server side pushing massive cache chips in their like Milan chips, I can't remember the code names, but one of their 2 new Epic SKUs. It's a sensible transition for them. And so yeah, I would expect that pretty much at any resolution, but the lower the resolution, generally the more CPU bound it is relatively, and therefore the better performance you'll get. Just getting ready for work, and they've turned up to upgrade the internet to fiber at my mate's house, and I'm asking them to do mine too. Nice. I'm curious to see how CPU scheduling works with 3D Vcache and only on 1 core. That'll be interesting. The plan was for VoIP phones in green, PCs blue, access points in orange, etc. Then it got turned down after they ordered the cables. Okay. The CPU doesn't need to access the RAM as often. True. Makes sense. Obviously, the latency to cache is minuscule compared to latency to memory, and even then, you know, latency to memory still isn't massive compared to like latency to storage. But you know, it's all tiers of speed. You know, level 1, level 2, level 3, and arguably, what do you call it? Come on, brain. You could argue that RAM could be considered level 4, but some also do have actual level 4 cache, so it depends. Can you explain why you'd want a display that has more than 240Hz when DisplayPort 1 only supports 240 at 1440p? Why get a monitor that says 300 plus Hertz but DisplayPort only supports up to 240? Well, it only supports DisplayPort up to 240 at 1440p. Anything over 240 hertz, generally speaking, is going to be 1080p. I think some are like 270 hertz now, but with display stream compression, DP 1.4 I think can still do that. Maybe, remember. There is also a DP 2 or 2.1, is it? 2. So, you know, that's a possibility if you like. But, yeah, I mean, so the short answer is that especially at something like 1080p and for, say, competitive games, the argument isn't necessarily the perceived smoothness as much as it is a latency thing, and it is a how your brain processes sample and hold images. So with an LCD display, they're what are called sample and hold displays because they draw the frame and then they hold it in place, and then they draw the next frame. So there's no gaps in between, and the frame is static in place for however long your refresher is. So at say 60 hertz, a new frame is only being drawn every 16.67 milliseconds, which is quite a long time for your brain to look at the image and then for it to change, and so you get perceived blurring. You can look at that on the TechteamGB.com, and at different refresh rates you can see how much smoother or how much crisper something looks as the UFOs fly by. So basically, the higher the refresh rate, the less time the image stays exactly still for, and therefore the crisper the motion is at, in motion, or the crisper the image is in motion, the less blurred it will look. Build is going to be a 7900X 3D with 4090, but I play on 1440p. So yeah, in that case, it's like realistically, anything over 144 is arguably overkill for your average home gamer. It's really not that big a deal, but for the more competitive gamers, for example, professional gamers, the better the display is, the better chance they have. So yeah. Excited for 27-inch OLEDs? Yes. With the only catch that I want to test them before I get too excited, to make sure that their brightness limiters don't kill the fun. What's my current monitor? I haven't changed them in a while actually, so it's an Aorus FI 27Q-X, and no, Q-P, that's it, and ViewSonic XT 270QG, I think, and a AOC G2460 PQU in portrait, which is a terrible idea because it's a TN monitor and it's in portrait mode, but it works enough. Esports Team GB. Hello, App. How you doing, man? How's things? It's been a while. Unfortunately, that is our usual hour, so I'm going to be ending it there. But hello. But yeah, thank you all for kicking it as always. If you want to pop back next week, feel free. They're every Thursday night at 8 PM UK time. And yeah, that's kind of it really. Links to the description as always. Have fun, stay safe, and I'll catch you all next week. Bye.